Okay, so enough announcements. Sum of annuity due. We want to review this just because it's kind of new. And then we'll go ahead and do the Three Sisters problem we've been waiting for. And after that, we'll work on homework together in groups. So sum of annuity due had the same kinds of things. They want to move to the board. Final amount, principal, rate in years. It's just that they're plugged in a little differently. And this is actually the easiest of the three formulas because you never have to fudge and fiddle with time frames. We're never dividing by 12 times 12 over 4 for quarterly or whatever. It's just everything is in years all the time. There really isn't any point in the type of planning estimation that this does of doing it anything other than annually. If you're saving for retirement a little bit each month, that might be what you actually do, but you might as well think of it as the overall annual interest rate, overall how much you're putting in. Because, again, we're not perfectly accurate. No one's going to save exactly the same amount each year again and again and again. Okay, so let's do a problem. Just make it. How much do you want to be saving each January 1st? $550. Oh, okay. What interest rate are we going to do? 4%. Okay. And how many years is this going on? As a side note, just to help me think about it, if I do the 550 times 25, then I'm getting 13,750. So this tells me two things. One, if somehow I get an answer less than that, I've done something wrong. Because I've put in 13,750 myself. And also that that doesn't look like 550. It just gives me sort of a ballpark of how much am I actually earning from the interest in all of this. Okay, I'm ready to go. Again, no, divide by 12s. No, times 12s. This is all nice. Whoops, let me pause this. Come on. Great. What's happening? That I do. Something's happening. Okay, so final amount. So, plug everything in. Again, the warning as I walk over to this board, don't put a 1.04 at the very end. That's just there's no 1 plus anymore. I can take away the parentheses around the 1 plus rates because putting a 1 in front is really easy. But I can't get around the parentheses that's making the subtraction one group of things. I have to keep those parentheses around. Okay, what is this? 550 times 1.04 times parentheses 1.04, 25 minus 1. So, unless I hit something wrong, I'm getting $23,821.46. Is that what other people got on their calculators too? We all hit our buttons correctly.
I can't write out this sentence if we couldn't do anything. We're going to get to
That's no plus, that's a times.
XY comes in 1.04, XY 25.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Minutes?
And then
There's
subtract 1.
There's a style of calculator that won't come down from the exponent until you tell it to. You have to sort of move right here. But most of the calculators that the bookstore had, that students here have, once you do the 25, as soon as you do a minus, it knows to come down from the exponent.
Is there math problems that have exponents? Questions like 1.04 to the 25th power minus 6? Or there is?
Yeah. Once you get to algebra, there'll be complicated things in the exponent. So. Okay, questions about this one on the board?
Yeah, because I didn't get it right.
You didn't? Let's go look over it and see what you think.
This is how I answer.
Thank you. Parentheses.
Oh, that's what I forgot. Okay. I can put it in the calculator. Okay.
Okay, yeah.
What's the side note? Like the 550 times 25, what's that for?
That's just to note that over the 25 years, we put into the account $13,750. So we didn't actually get $23,000 in profit. We got about $10,000.
Okay. Gotcha.
Which is still not bad.
Do we need to do that when we're solving?
No. The rule of 72 doesn't really work because we keep putting money in. But in general, we've sort of almost doubled what we put in. Gone from 13,750 to 23. So how long would you expect with the rule of 72 something to, how many years for 4% to double something?
I think it's like 18.
18 times 4 is 72, so it would be about 18 years. So you'd expect us to double things in 18 years. We didn't quite double, and it's been 25 years, but we didn't put it all in at the beginning. So this sounds right? If we had gotten 60,000 as an answer, that would be suspiciously large. That would be too much doubling for a 4%. So we can think like that. Okay, now the most interesting part of this whole shenanigans. So, make this a little bigger. Okay, the Three Sisters problem. Which I'll stick there. Okay. So, Cindy and Clara and Chloe all have $3,000 a year. We are being unrealistic and assuming that no matter how old they are, that's what they're going to have at the end of the year after they've paid all their expenses. Right? So Cindy says, I don't care about going on vacation with people who are going to throw up in the car. I'll save the money for 10 years, and then when my kids are older, I'll not save anything and put all the money in vacations. So let's see what she has. Before we do this, I just wanted to go up a little bit and say, remember there was this rough estimate that for a typical American family, they're not paying for their house when they're retired, their kids are out of college, so on. They would want to save about $400,000. So that's sort of the ballpark goal we're aiming for. Which of these three sisters make it to $400,000? Okay, so the other thing we need to know is that there's an 8% rate they get. And the problem uses 8% because that's a little bit conservative. The stock market average is about 9%. So this is a two-part problem. Part A is the first 10 years. So our rate is 8%.
And 10 years?
It's 10 years that she does this, and it's $3,000 each time. Okay, you go first, or even have someone come up on the board. Anyone want to do this one?
I'll try it.
You want to try it? Oh, okay.
Okay. I'll just make sure I understand. So.
Oh, wait a minute.
No, come right here so that it's recorded and everyone will see it forever. But I'm going to, these for some reason floated up a little. Okay, so there you go. You can start writing.
So I'm gonna do is okay. Oh, how do I erase that?
Up at the top, there's sort of like a stripy ice cream bar. That's your eraser.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry.
Not the mouse. Click the mouse again,
Okay,
and then click the ice cream bar. There, that
right
one.
there. Okay. Okay, and then I click on the pen?
Yep.
Okay. Okay. Okay, now where I get lost is the big parentheses.
That's the big ones only you have to put in the calculator.
Okay.
The little ones just become a 1 point
Okay.
away.
Thank you. Okay. I'm sorry, you guys. But, So now after I do the 1 plus 0.08, am I going to do the XY10 or do it outside?
If you're putting parentheses in for these small ones, just put them in for all of them. Do it exactly like you say. So 0.08, close the little parentheses, then do a times, then do 2 parentheses.
Oh, okay. So I do this and then the 2 parentheses.
Yeah, then open 2 parentheses.
Okay. So I did that backwards.
You're fine.
So 3, 0, 0, 0 times parentheses.
Mm-hmm. 1
times.
Nope, not time. This is a plus.
Okay, that's where I'm messed up. That then that's a plus.
That's a plus.
Okay. 3, 0, 0, 0 times parentheses 1 plus 0.08
Mhm.
parentheses.
Times 2 parentheses open.
Okay.
Yeah.
1 plus
Close one of them. X to the whoops. No. Just go back one step.
oh,
Okay. Then do your why to the X key.
10. Subtract 1.
Yep. Now move to the other. Whoops. What do we do? What was that? Okay. Then divide it by.
Okay. So, sorry, you guys.
You're doing great.
This is how I would do it.
Oh,
It's 46, but then round up. Right?
Mhm.
Okay.
That's good enough. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, everyone okay, except maybe how you rounded the cents? We hit the right calculator button. So, what would make it easier on the calculator is take these smaller parentheses and just make them a 1.08. Oops, that one I do. Then you don't have to type as many things. Because if I have a 0.08 and a 1, it's really easy to add them together. There's no carrying or anything. Okay, so we're not done with Cindy. This is 10 years into her adult life. She has set aside $30,000 herself, right? 10 3,000s. She's earned some interest. She's up to 46,936. And I'm just going to round it to 7, actually. Or was it 6? It was 6, wasn't it? A little bit more. Because the cents aren't going to matter. So that's how much she has at the beginning of year 11, right? December 31st, year 10, January 1st, year 11. This is what's in her account. So now we need part B. So she has 30 more years where she spends all her extra money each year on vacations. But that doesn't mean that this 46,000 just sits under her mattress and nothing happens. It's going to be earning 8% of compound interest each year. So we need to stop using the sum of annuity to do formula because there's no more deposits happening. And we need to do the compound interest formula because that's what you do when there's one initial amount and it gets boosted up a little bit at regular intervals. So I'm going there, compound interest.
It's not a percentage.
That's rate per payout. Right? The rate's a percentage.
Oh, okay.
Not sure why I'm writing my T's differently. this I'm going to need again, so I'm going to copy it. Stick it over there. Come on. And I might as well do it again just to be safe. Come on, paste. And you're pasting.
So where you write payout, I would on my calculator do YX.
Oh no. Wait a minute. Sigh. What is wrong with this? Oh, okay. It's because it was busy crashing. That's why it wasn't right. Sure. Okay, I'm not quite sure what you're asking, so let me go back and we'll
Where you
see.
put the number sign and
Right.
then payout.
The number of payouts, yes.
That would be the year.
That is the exponent. Okay, so in this particular story, the total amount is what we're solving for. It's 30 more years. It's 8%, so 0.08 per year. And the principal is whatever that was before, 46,936. Okay, everyone okay with my setup?
Wasn't it 49,936? Did I write that wrong? Wrong. 46,936.
Okay. Okay, everyone okay with why it's years? It doesn't say in the problem in explicit words compounded annually, but if it doesn't, we're just assuming that happens. That's sort of the default thing when they don't tell you how the compounding is. Okay, so that's nice. There's no divided by 12s, there's no times 12s. We just go.
Thank you, David.
You're welcome. Okay, so 46,936 times 1.08 exponent 30. You're getting 472,301 about. Everyone else get the same thing?
I added the seconds onto the total.
Sure.
And I just added like
Yep, good enough. Again, we're all just ballparking. No one is actually going to save $3,000 a year exactly for 10 years and then nothing else after that. This is all baloney. But it's sort of educational baloney. That she got more than the 400,000 goal, which might be surprising because she only saved for 10 years. And then she blows all her money on big vacations. So, but she made it. So starting early is really powerful. The compound interest got us from 46,000 all the way to 472,000. So, ready for the next sister? Okay, so Clara, she wants to go on vacations when she's young, and then she puts the money the other 30 years. So she has a lot more that she spends herself. She puts 3,000 in for 30 years. Okay, which formula are we going to use for the 10 years that she does nothing?
Sum of annuity.
Trick question. For the 10 years she does nothing,
Oh, no.
then we don't do anything. Right? Part A is no savings. But then McKenna is right. Part B is sum of annuity because there's repeated deposits. So part A, we're done. Okay, part B. Okay, so I have to go back to this one. All that. This is really annoying. Heavy paste. No, I don't. Okay. Okay, and then this is a 30. And save. Sure, whatever you want to call it. Okay. Everyone ready to do sum of annuity do again? Just okay, meet sure your homework is to, or assignment is to not put more parentheses in. Just do the 1.08. Okay, 3,000 times 1.08 times parentheses 1.08 exponent 30 minus 1 close parentheses divided by 0.08. Okay, again, you can round the cents however you want. These are all just unrealistic things to talk about. How'd she do?
I was surprised. I thought she'd have more.
She sure put in a lot. She put in 90,000. But she didn't even have as much as her sister, even though she put in 10 times or 3 times as often. So, in some sense, this is good news. If you, for the last 30 years of your working life, can save 3,000, then, assuming interest rates are decent, you can almost retire comfortably. So, by the time you get to, whatever, 35, you have that much extra in your income, then that's not an unreasonable goal. On the other hand, it's kind of sad. By not starting early, she really missed out. Okay, other questions about this one? Anyone who needs help getting their calculator to do this? So, last sister. Okay, she is going to say, I can do both these things. I'm going to have a half as big a vacation each year and the saving some for retirement each year. So how many years does she save? 40, right? The 10 and the 30. Okay, someone want to finish this up for me? And leave it up for one at 4 again.
This is some of the new stuff.
Yeah. She's putting the same 1,500 in. Everyone else got the same number? Yeah. Yay. Oh. How'd she do? Yeah, she got her $400,000 goal. She put in, 40,500, so that would be 23,000, so 60,000. So she put in more than her first sister, Clara, but she got to go on vacations even when she was young. So I'm not going to say this is a bad plan. And she got more than the 400,000 that's recommended that people got. So this might be good news too. We got from Clara that if you can save 3,000 a year once you hit like age 35, halfway through your adulthood, then that's okay. But if you can start saving early, you only need half that to get the goal.
So, if I were to put, say, January, $2,000 in the bank, and every January add 2,000 for, say, 10 years, then, like you were saying with your daughter, when my granddaughter turns 18, then she would have all that money.
Right. And we are assuming an 8% interest rate.
Right.
So the risk, the trick, is what's that actual interest rate going to be. Have I done a stock market graph in this class before yet? Yeah, we did when we talked about banks and stuff. So the stock market normally goes up, but sometimes it goes down and there's recessions. So if you want to have your money accessible, then the stock market is not the right place to be, because if it happens to be down this year and you need your money, then you're out of luck. But if you are 30 and you don't really need the money until you're 65, then that's the right way to be, because even if it goes down, it will come back up.
It's only 31,000 for 10 years.
You figured it out that quick.
The calculation.
Okay.
But that's not for 18,
Wow.
that's just for 10 years.
Yeah, if the years is small, then the power of the compounding interest doesn't kick in as much.
What is
So-
like an average like compounding like rate
What's in?
for from like a banker?
Say a mutual fund, those are considered safe, right?
No. Should we talk about the different kinds of investments? Let's do Cliff first, and then we'll talk about that. We have time for both. Okay, so there we go. There's their stories. And so Cliff is Clara's brother. I thought I was going to do more with compound interest, but I didn't. So I'll get rid of that. He stopped smoking at age 25 and decides to devote the money he used to spend on cigarettes to retirement. He used to smoke, so $5.70 a day. I don't know what a pack of cigarettes costs. I used to call Costco and keep this updated. But for one pack?
I pay 607 for mine.
Yeah, okay, I'm a little out of date. Anyway, so times 365. So he's spending each year $2,080 and 50 cents. So that's going to be his principal. And he's going. Oops, okay, that was all of part A. Now we're going to move this down. And say, instead he puts that in an account that earns 6%. Okay, everyone okay with my setup? Why 40 years? Because he's starting at 25 and we want him to retire at 65. Well, anyone want to come up and be the person reading? No, still my turn. Okay. Oh no, did you just disappear? What's happening? Okay, so why is it going away? Different. Okay. Would be even better if it would at least crash quickly, so we knew it was crashed. we lose all of him? We did. Okay, pardon me for going quickly then. Oops. That's not right. Okay, so this one was 570 and 365. Okay, yay, let's save. So what is this? Times 1.06 times 1. Okay, 341 hunch stuff. Is that what everyone got? Again, you can round the cents however you want. It doesn't really matter. Okay, so just by quitting smoking, he was almost able to completely save for retirement with that $400,000 goal. So a lot of people at LCC might not be spending $2,000 a year on cigarettes, but maybe they're getting fancy coffee at Dutch Brothers too often or something like that. So the point of this one is that if you can't scrounge up the $1,500 a year, then maybe you actually can if you try a little harder. Not everyone can. Some people are living by the skin of their teeth. But sometimes all it takes is to say, look, I'm going to focus a little more on retiring, and then ta-da, now I'm happy when I'm old.
Energy drinks. $2.50, $3 a pop.
So it's like $120 a month if you want to try to save. It's not too bad.
So that's like $1,300 a year. Coffee's cheap if you brew it yourself.
Okay, let's look and see what else is here. So the factfulness interlude is about the risk and danger thing. Not much there. And that's something you can read on your own. Okay, so let's talk about different things to save. So what are these things? Stocks, funds, and there's something called an index fund. And there's a bond. And there's something called a bond fund. And then the bank has what's called a CD, or a certificate of deposit. And then there's an annuity. Okay, so what are all these things, and how would you use them? A CD, a certificate of deposit, is basically a bond that a bank sells to customers. So there's usually simple interest, traditionally. I think nowadays they're often compound interest, just because the bank can fudge it so it works out the same at the end. But it looks like compound interest, and so you can compare it with other things better, because most of the world runs on compound interest. So it's, I'll give the bank $1,000, and 5 years later I get this much back. And if I try to take it out early, I only get my $1,000 back. So They could have penalties, although I haven't usually seen them. Maybe. And again, I haven't used one myself in many years, so they used to be very popular as like wedding presents or coming of age presents or whatever. You're young, you don't need money, but later on, maybe this will help you buy a house or put kids to college. Okay, stock. Stock is just a share of a company. And if you haven't had the discussion yet in real life, then as the Factfulness book pointed out, if you're saying, oh, this big company is polluting too much, look at their carbon footprint. Then how much of that would be, if you divide it by how many people own shares of that stock, what's each of their share? If you are a stockholder, what's your responsibility to, because you're like the owner of the company. It's almost like you're doing some of these pollutings and things. Anyway, so when you have a stock, you have you're buying a share of a company. And if you have a stock that's worth 100 and it doubles, then you can sell it and have 200. The amount that it increases by is called your capital gains. Capital meaning sort of what you own, so how much of your own has a gain. And you're taxed on that capital gains because it's income. And yeah, it's different than your normal tax rate. So...
Is that only if you sell it you pay the tax?
Right, you don't pay the tax till you sell it. And that's almost true, but not quite. We'll talk also about investment account, an IRA, and a Roth IRA. Okay, a fund is somebody says, I know lots about businesses. I'm going to earn my living doing research and finding out which companies are promising and so on. And I'm going to have this basket. And I'm going to buy shares of lots of different companies, put them in the basket, and you can just buy a share of the whole basket. And everyone should own lots of different things. No one should have just one stock. Even if you really love whatever company, Costco has the best pizza, I'll just buy only Costco stock. No, that's terrible. If there's a scandal at Costco, you will lose all your money. So you could either do all the homework yourself and figure out enough companies that if one of them has a scandal, you will not lose all your money. Or you could just trust someone else and say, yes, this company is selling this fund. There's lots of famous names, Vanguard and Fidelity and these other places, Schwab. So I'm going to just buy some of their fund, and they will have a nice kind of average things out. Some companies will do great this year, some won't do great, like that. The problem with it.
Do you not deal with any of the selling and buying? You're just like investing in what somebody else has already.
Right, when you buy from the fund, it's like they have their own bank account with all the stuff in it, and you're buying a share of the bank account. So if the whole account doubles, then your money would double. So you can keep buying and selling the fund as often as you want, but it's sort of the pot that you're dealing with rather than each individual piece. Right. The problem with funds is that in order for this person to make money, then he or she is charging you a rate. And so each year you're going to spend like 1% of what you've invested in the fund to help pay them. And if your fund goes up 10%, then maybe that's great. 9% is pretty good. I'll be happy with that. If your fund goes up 2%, then you have to give half the gains to the person as their income. Then you're like, that's no good. So the solution to that is what's called an index fund. So the business world has lots of things. The S&P 500, there's indexes for medium-sized businesses, for small businesses, for international businesses, for businesses in a certain sector like healthcare or telecommunication or whatever. And just sort of to measure how the stock market is, then bunches of businesses are just clumped together. There's this index, it's the 500 in the S&P 500. It's the biggest tech companies in the tech index and so on. And you can automatically buy an index fund. I just want to buy a little bit of every famous tech company or whatever. And because it's automatic, there's almost no fee. It's like 0.1%. So most people these days, especially the younger crowd, instead of buying a fund that has a fee, will buy an index fund because they don't trust the old fogey to buy and sell things better than the index would be anyway. And in general, that's true. It's very hard to find someone whose fund beats normal indexes. It's hard to predict the future. But some people think they can do that, and some people still make money on mutual funds and use mutual funds and so on. Index funds are new. It took computers quite a while to get where they could automate this thing. So most of the people in the older generation still think in terms of mutual funds because that's what they grew up with. There was no automated way to bundle things into a basket. So then you have bonds. LCC needs money. So LCC will say, give us money now, we'll repair our buildings, and in 5 years you will get your money plus interest. So bonds are the classic simple interest thing. And bonds are nice and safe. It's easy to know which governments, which schools, whatever, are reliable and pay back their bonds. Right? Normally companies have scandals and things, but countries tend not to go bankrupt. So
if they go bankrupt, you don't get your...
Right. If you were trying to buy bonds from Venezuela today, that would not be a safe bet. So, however, maybe you, for some reason, want a basket of bonds. That might be a smart thing to do. If you were getting to be 55 or 60, you want these nice, safe, reliable things that aren't going to go up and down with the stock market. But you don't want to do your own homework over which bonds to buy. So you can buy a bond fund. And there tend not to be index bond funds, just because all these governments, whether they're city or state or country, don't always give out the same amount of bonds each year and so on. It's not quite as easy to automate. But maybe there are index bond funds, and I'm ignorant because I'm only a math teacher. So anyway, bond funds are really popular once you're getting old. If you're 55 and 60 and you don't want risk with your savings, but you want it to grow more than a savings account, then bond funds are the big thing. Annuity. So you saw annuity in the formula, sum of annuity due, the repeated payment. You were putting money into your investment account. So this is kind of the opposite direction. You are going to spend a whole lot of money, give it to some other company, and then they give you a certain amount each year. So they are going to try and do the investing, and you are going to get a guaranteed income. So maybe you want, $5,000 a year for something. You're going to give them tens of thousands of dollars now, and they will give you $5,000 a year for a whole long time.
What happens if you die?
Then your next of kin or whatever gets it usually.
It just stops the contract.
Not that I've heard of, but maybe. I don't know. It might be something like a lot of pensions or military pensions, then your survivors get less than if you were still alive. Could be. Again, I'm not an investment expert. These are just, you can know as much as I can, and then class is done. Okay, so the investment account is just like a bank account, savings or checking, except you have the option to hold investments in it. If you don't have one, you probably don't want one right now because it's almost the end of the year, right? Your taxes get complicated if you have investments. You have to buy the slightly more expensive version of TurboTax when you go to Costco. So November is not the time to start investing if you don't own any investments. If you're willing to cough up a few extra dollars for TurboTax, then sure, you could get an investment account. There's lots of companies that will set up one. Their websites are friendly, and you only need to put a little bit of money in. But again, you're going to have to do slightly more complicated taxes when you do.
So again, an investment account is where you go and put so much money in, and then every year it gets bigger?
It's where that kind of thing can happen. You could put money in your savings account at a bank or a credit union,
Right.
And it will grow. It just won't grow very much.
Right. Okay.
The interest rate is so low. You can't buy, 40 shares of Costco and put it in the savings account. They're not hooked up for that. So that's what the investment account is. It's just your basket where you're putting things that are more complicated than a savings account. And you can link a checkbook up to an investment account. So your basket could have some cash, and some of these stocks, and some of these bonds, and the cash part you can write checks on. So if you sell some of your stuff, then you can write checks on that without having to transfer it to your bank or your credit union. An IRA is something hopefully you know about from taxes already. There's two kinds, and we have 2 minutes. Okay, so a normal IRA says that I am going to get a bonus this year for my taxes. I won't pay quite as much taxes because I'm promising that I'm going to take this money and save it for retirement. If you try and take it out before you retire, then there's a penalty. So you have to have cash. You have to sell whatever you want to get capital gains tax paid and so on, or you have to earn money or something. You have to have liquid cash. But then when you say, I'm going to put it in the IRA, it's a special kind of investment account. And you get a bonus for putting money in there. It helps your taxes this year.
Tax deductible?
Yeah, it's a deduction in your taxes, just like the child tax credit or something. So, and it's an investment account. Once it's in the IRA, you can do whatever you want with it. You could buy bonds, you could buy stocks, you could buy funds, whatever. The Roth IRA is the opposite game. It's saying, I'm going to put money in, and I'm not going to get any benefit now. But instead, at the end, when I'm retiring and taking it out, then I'm going to have less taxes than otherwise. So if your tax bracket is low right now, which for most LCC students it is, because your careers haven't kicked into gear yet, then the Roth IRA is a great idea. Let's pay taxes now and pay less later. Sure, I'm at the lowest my tax rate will ever be in my life. Whereas if you're in your 40s or 50s and still saving for retirement, as hopefully you would be, then the IRA might be the best one, plain one, because then you're earning as much as you would. Your career is in progress, right? So saving the taxes for when you're retired and not having a salary makes more sense. So those are three kinds of places that are like the buckets you have where you can put the things that are on the other side in black in them.
And they're generally like higher interest than just a general savings account?
Yeah, because even bonds are higher than a savings account. So anything that makes the money not very accessible to you, that lets other people benefit from it, you're going to get paid for that. That's the beginning.
Like bonds have like the 10-year bond or whatever. So after that time period, is that as big as the bond grows? Or
Right.
Does it keep
No, it's done. One reason bond funds are great is because the person who manages this bucket has bought and sold them like every day for many years, then you can buy and sell this anytime. You don't have to wait for the particular bond to mature. So if you want to have the safety but low rates of a bond, but not be tied into a certain time frame, then the fund will do that.
Sounds really complicated.
It can be complicated. If you've never grown up with parents or grandparents that talked about this kind of stuff, then I don't know where at LCC you get more detail than my one slide. Because again, I'm not going to tell you more than this. I'm not an investment person.
Yeah, interesting.
And let me just say there's one more thing. If you're talking about kinds of baskets, to answer Mitch's questions, a UTMA is a kind of basket. You put, again, stocks or bonds or whatever you want in there. It's the Uniform Trust Act for minors. But the letters, they switch for some reason. So this is an account you set up for your kids, and the kids get it when they turn 18. It's not a good thing for taxes. It's not something most people do. But the reason they exist is sometimes you have, say, a grandparent that is getting old, and she says, or he says, I have money, and I want to give it to my grandkids, and so on. There's a limit to how much you can give to someone without they have to pay taxes on it.
Like 10,000.
It's about 10,000, yeah. So you might want to give away lots of money to your grandkids before you die, because otherwise there'll be taxes on this big amount you leave behind if you have enough money to be giving it away. So if you split it up, each kid gets this amount, then you can give each kid about 10,000. If I tried to give it all to the grandkids' parents, then there would be taxes because that would be like 20, right? Or 30 if there's 3 kids in that family. So by saying I'm legally giving money to the kid, the parents can't just use it for whatever they want. There's very strict rules on what the kids can spend it for. School supplies, soccer things, anything that's sort of educational is good. But this is a way that people that are getting old and have money can give it to even kids and not have taxes for giving too much just to the parents. And it's also not tied only to schools. It's not like a educational account, which we could also talk about. But the kids get it when they turn 18, whether or not the parents want them to. So, yeah, there's something called UTMA regret, where you're like, my kid's a teenager and not responsible, and they just discovered they have money. So.
Yeah, it's a good way to keep it out of the hands of the parents. I know a lot of grandparents who have custody of their grandkids or whatever. That's what they do to keep their.
Maintain the integrity of what they want that money to go to.
Yeah.
The right way to do that is with a trust, but trusts cost like $3,000 to set up.
Yeah.
So if you want to keep money away from parents because you've taken care of your grandkids or something, but don't want to spend the money on a trust, then the UTMA could be like the second best way to do that. So.
Would that also be like one of those college, like state college funds? Is that?
No, that's a 529 plan.
Okay.
Here, I'm going to stop the